Hello, my name is Chloe, welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you my better late than never December wrap up. So I'm going to sound like a bit of a broken record here, but my loyal viewers may notice something different about my face, which they were actually different in the last video, but ignore that. And that is these new pair of glasses. These were gifted to me by the company ZINFF, who I have worked with before, and I wear their glasses most of the time actually in my official YouTube stuff, so they are these glasses, and they reached out to me and asked if I would like to become part of their affiliate program. So definitely was all up for that, and I got these new pair of glasses, which are I actually don't know how you pronounce the name of them, but they are oval purple glasses. I need to do a close-up view for you guys, which is going to be really hard without my glasses on with my new tripod. We're going to figure this out.
Okay, I am really sorry about the shadows, but this is definitely the best I can get right now. I have nothing intelligent to say right now, but these are the glasses when they're not on my face, so you can have a better view at them. And I'm currently filming this upside down, so I'm going to stop with this angle.
Okay, so now we're back upright. Let's talk a bit more about them and the benefits you can get by using my links and codes and stuff. ZINFF glasses I do really like. They are, this is the second pair I've got from them, as I said, and both pairs I've got are plastic frames, which I always prefer because they're much more lightweight and comfortable. These are so lightweight. I've been wearing them since I unboxed them, so you know, when I have choices of glasses, that is really, really high praise. So by joining the ZINFF affiliate program, it does mean that if you use any of my links or my discount code, that I will be earning commission from it. So just please bear that in mind. You can have 50% off frames and 20% off lenses if you use the code Chloe on their website, which will be linked down in the description. So you will have a link to the website, a link to these glasses specifically, and my discount code. So yeah, and if you have any questions, then please do reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you. And thank you again, ZINFF, for asking me to be part of your affiliate program. Okay, so the bookish content of this video. I wasn't really sure whether to still do a December wrap up. I was supposed to film it at Coles while he was at work, and I just really did not want to film a wrap up. I was not in the mood, so I thought I would give you this as extra content this week, just to fit my completionist mindset. Like, I have to have a wrap up for every month, and it's not impacting my regular scheduling. It's not delaying anything, it's just extra. So December was an okay reading month for me, particularly as I went away to Seacole. I wasn't reading as much as I normally would, but I did read 19 books with a total of 6,288 pages. So for me, I'm normally more than happy if I hit at least 6,000 pages. I don't know why that number makes me happy, but it does. So to break down the ratings, we had 2 5 stars, 1 4.5 star, 2 4 stars, 1 3.5 star, 3 3 stars, 1 2.5 star, 2 2 stars, 2 1 stars, and 5 books that I didn't rate, which gives me an average rating of 2.7 stars. Of those books, 12 of them were normal print books, and by that I mean normal prose. I don't mean print, I mean prose. I mean like a novel. They were a novel or a novella or a kids non-fiction, which we'll get onto. And then 7 of them were audiobooks. I did use quite a lot of audiobooks this month. So I'm just going to run through the books in the order I read them. That's how they're written down, and I'm happy going that way. And to kick things off, we have a very dark book, and that was The BTK Murders by Carlton Smith. This was an audiobook I listened to via SCRIBD, and I was very happy to pick it up, but I did find it very disturbing. So I thought I knew quite a lot about BTK and the horrific murders he committed, but it turns out I really did not know that much. I must not have. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and that's where I normally get my information on true crime from. I found it much more impactful. Is that even the word I mean? But I ended up having nightmares for several nights thinking about this man, whereas the true crime podcasts don't really hit me so hard. And for that reason, and because it was so informative, I gave it 4 stars. I don't want to say enjoy it, but I very much liked the experience of listening to this audiobook and getting some more information about this horrific, horrific man. all my true crime friends out there, I would recommend this book. Next, I read my first book I didn't rate, and that was Balmy British Empire by Terry Deary. So if you've been following me for a while now, you'll know that I was reading the box set of the Horrible Histories books to give to Cole's niece and nephew for Christmas. Now I have completed that, so the first one I had to read in December to finish off the box set was Balmy British Empire. I don't rate these books because I don't think I am, I know I'm not the target audience, which doesn't necessarily mean, this is going to sound like a broken record, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't rate middle grade and children's books and YA books. I do, but because the purpose of these books is to educate children on British history, I really don't feel like I need that education, so I don't give them a numbered rating. But Balmy British Empire was a good one. There was a lot of information in here that I didn't know, and I found it very informative. So yeah, didn't give it a rating, but I was happy to tick another one off my list. You will see the rest of them coming up shortly in this wrap up. Next, I read Love Secret Santa by S.A. Domingo, which actually my copy has already gone on BookSwap. It went before my trip. I read this towards the start of December. I don't typically read Christmas books, and I wanted to change that this year and get through the ones that I had. So I picked this one up. It was a YA romance, which I should say I gave 3 stars. It was very cute, but it was very formulaic, and there was nothing surprising here. So again, I can't think of the characters' names, I never can, but this was about a girl at school who they're doing a Secret Santa throughout the whole year group. I believe it was the year group, or class as Americans would call it, and she's getting very, very thoughtful presents from her Secret Santa. She doesn't know who it could be, but there's a guy at school she doesn't really like. She thinks he's a bit arrogant. Then she starts kind of thinking he's okay. They used to be friends. They're not friends anymore. All of the tropes. But I did have a rather enjoyable time with this book, so I settled on 3 stars. Next, I had a 5-star read. Can we believe it? I mean, I can, because it was a reread, so I knew it was going to happen. And the book I reread and loved was Girls with Sharp Sticks by Suzanne Young. I love this book so much. I think it's so, so good, but I don't want to tell you too much about it because I went into this the first time completely blind. I didn't even know what genre it was, and it just blew me away. So I reread this book knowing the big twist in the story, and it did not dampen my enjoyment of the book at all. It's about a girl called Mina who goes to Innovations Academy, and at this academy they are training young girls to become the perfect wives and housewives and maids and just everything that they are told that men want of them. And oh my god, I love this book so, so much. I reread it because I really need to pick up Girls with Razor Hearts, which is the sequel that I have down here. I've had it a long time. I need to pick it up, so wanted to reread the first book to remember where it left off. Absolutely loved my time reading it. 5 stars. Next, we have another book I didn't rate, but again, I can't use the word enjoy, but I did enjoy my time reading it, and that was The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. This book was so moving. If for some reason you don't know, this is the diary that was written by Anne Frank at the time that she was hiding in the secret annex from the Nazis in Amsterdam. And oh my god, it was so moving because I could just put myself in the shoes of this young girl hiding and not knowing like what each day has in store for her. It got more and more emotional towards the end when you know what happens to Anne Frank, because her and her family were discovered in August of 1944 and they'd been hiding since July 1942. I've wanted to read this for a while. I did go on a school trip when I was in high school to Auschwitz concentration camp, and that really got me intrigued into the story of Anne Frank. I genuinely would recommend reading this to everybody. I think it's such an important story to hear, and I'm just grateful that we are able to read this and kind of be humbled by it so long after this happened. But yeah, I would 100% recommend this. It's very just kind of generic day-to-day things that Anne will be talking about, like a crush and food and homework, but it just has such a dark, sinister side to it, and I am so glad I finally picked this up. Next, onto a completely different vibe, I had another 5-star read, and that was From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I didn't think I was gonna love this. Everyone loves this, and I was convinced that I wouldn't. I don't know why. But, oh no, some of the pages are squished. I'm so sorry. But this is about Poppy, who is a maiden. It says, chosen from birth to usher in a new era, Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. Waiting for the day of her ascension, she would rather be with the guards, fighting back the evil that took her family, than preparing to be found worthy by the gods, but the choice has never been hers. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders, something she's never even quite sure she wants for herself, because a maiden has a heart, and a soul, and longing. And when Hawk, a golden-eyed guard, honour bound to ensure her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become tangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. So I'm sorry that I've literally just read out the blurb, but that does such a better job at telling you what this story is about than I could. So I actually listened to this one on audio rather than read this giant chunky book. I'm actually kind of sad I did that. I want to go back and read it physically and annotate it because I had such an amazing time with it. So anyone else who's putting off this book and doesn't have a reason why, just pick it up. It was a great time. Next, I had my voice broke. I should have mentioned I'm really sick while I'm filming this. Anyway, I had a really good buddy read with Victoria from What Victoria Read. We read Bird Box by Josh Malerman and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4 stars. There were definitely things I thought could be improved, so 4 not 5. But this is a book where I have watched the start of the movie and never finished it, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. But we're in, it's a dystopian kind of horror. Is that even right? I guess it is. With this woman, Mallory, who one day people start seeing things and then committing atrocious murders and before killing themselves. And nobody knows what they've seen because anyone who sees it follows the same fate. So Mallory is living in a world where she has to stay inside or wear a blindfold to avoid seeing whatever it is people are seeing. And it follows her story as she enters a house with some other people who are still surviving, and she is actually pregnant. So I had a great time reading this one with Victoria. We were never good at organising what we were reading each day or anything, but it was just such a fun experience chatting to her about what we were reading. And I think we both gave it 4 stars. I could be wrong there, but I believe we both enjoyed it and had very similar feelings. So I think it could have been longer because it was very short, and that maybe would have heightened my enjoyment of it to have just a bit more horror and a bit more gore. Not sure, but yeah, just a little bit longer would have been great. Next, just a quick one because I can't remember too much about it. I read We Can't Keep Meeting Like This by Rachel Lynn Solomon, which I gave 3 stars. I listened to this one on audio and I remember thinking it was just okay, it was cute. It's a YA romance that revolves around 2 teenagers I should say, who are both involved in the wedding planning industry and the wedding catering industry. It's a friends, admitted attraction denied, are they now crushing on each other kind of situation. It was a really cute time. I was enjoying it and I sped through the audiobook, but I don't have anything more intelligent to say on it than just it was cute. So I'm gonna stop talking about it because I don't really know what else to say. Then I read the next Horrible Histories book, which was The Frightful First World War, again, obviously by Terry Deary. I won't repeat my things that I just said about balmy British Empire, but I didn't rate this book. I learned a lot, I think. Actually, I probably learned the least in this because World War I and World War II are the things I know most about from British history at least. So yeah, I don't have much to say on this one, but I read another Horrible Histories book. Then I had my Chloe's Crime Scene Corner book club pick for the month, which was Dancing with the Octopus by Deborah Harding, and sadly I gave this one 2 stars. This is my least favourite of the books we've read for the book club so far, which makes me so sad because I was actually in an agreement with Profile Books, who published this, to use this book in my book club to, you know, bring attention to it, and I didn't like it. So this is about Deborah Harding herself, and she had a very traumatic and abusive childhood, and during this childhood, when she was 14, she was abducted at knife point, thrown into a van, assaulted, held for ransom and left to die. Weirdly, that is not the focus of this story, which is shocking. Like, how? I wasn't really happy with giving somebody's book about their own life a low rating, but it was actually the writing style I had the biggest problem with. There were very, very short chapters and the timeline of this book was so choppy that I couldn't ever work out where we were, and sometimes I just didn't really follow her inner thoughts and where they were going. I was so detached from this story that I just did not care about Deborah at all, which sounds so horrible because it is actually about her and her life. But yeah, I just didn't like it. People in the book club did give better reviews to this book than me, so it could just be a me thing, but sadly I didn't get on with this one. Next, I read another Horrible Histories book, which was Woeful Second World War, again by Terry Deary, again with the same review, so won't say much, but I did read that one. Then I read The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson, and from my notebook, I gave it 2.5 stars. I don't remember anything really about this book. I originally kind of enjoyed Truly Devious. I think I gave it 4 stars and then brought it down to 3.5 on reread. I did not like the second book, The Vanishing Stair. I thought it was kind of silly. It ended on another cliffhanger like the first book. And then I gave this book such a low rating because it just felt like tidying up the stuff that should have been tidied up in the first and second books. It was relatively short in comparison to the others, and it was because, in my opinion, it was just answering the questions that should have been answered before. So I was kind of angry reading this whole thing. I didn't enjoy it. 2.5 stars. And finally, the last Horrible Histories book, I read Blitzed Brits, again by Terry Deary, again the same review, no rating. So let's move on. Then I read what I'm considering as some sort of second chance book, I guess. I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Sadly though, I gave it 2 stars. So I read The Hunting Party last year or the year before. So by that I mean 2020 or 2019. I'm gonna say it was 2020. And I hated it, I really disliked it, and it made it onto my worst books of the year list. This one, I haven't quite decided if it's on my worst books of the year. I don't think it is, but this is about a remote island where there is a wedding and there's a murder. One guest won't leave this wedding alive, and I just did not care for this at all. I picked it up to give the author a second chance for whether I would enjoy their work. It turns out I don't, and yeah, I didn't like it. So I gave it 2 stars. I don't know if I said that. I think I did. Next, I read what I thought was another Christmas book, and that is One Day in December by Josie Silver, which I gave 3 stars. My main problem with this book is it isn't a Christmas book. I don't know where I got that impression. It says 2 people, 10 chances, 1 unforgettable love story. And this follows Laurie and I have forgotten his name, Jack, over a 10-year period. And it follows Laurie sees Jack at a bus stop on, I think it's like the 21st of December or 23rd, something like that, one year. And then she spends basically the whole next year or next couple of years in search for Bus Stop Boy. She needs to find him. She knows that it was love at first sight and they didn't even say anything. She knows she has to find him. And then her best friend, whose name I've also forgotten, I want to say Sarah, but I think I've made that up. She actually brings Jack home as her new boyfriend and introduces him to Laurie. So obviously Laurie's not too happy, but she moves on with the situation, and yeah, it's all about these 2 people who, as it says, one unforgettable love story. It was very easy to predict what was going to happen. I think a lot of you may have predicted the story just from what I've just said. But I did have a fun time reading it. I found it enjoyable. It just wasn't Christmassy, which is what I read it for. So I'm sorry that Penguin may have made this appear more Christmassy than it actually is. It kind of starts and ends at Christmas, but apart from that, it's just 10 years of life. So didn't really enjoy that part of it. And it went on for too long. We don't need to follow people over 10 years. I don't care that much about their life. But 3 stars. It was okay. It was fine. Oh, then I read an awful book. I read The Secret Santa by Trish Harnato. I read this book in one sitting on the plane to Seacole, and I gave it 1 star. I hated this so much. This was about some rich people who'd built a house and they were selling it, and they organised a Secret Santa gift swap kind of party and included the new buyer in it, and I did not care at all. It said something on the cover about twists and turns that you won't forget and like exciting and gripping, and it was none of those things. It was dreadful. And it's branded as like a locked room, not a locked room, but like a isolated setting, and it wasn't even that isolated because people turned up, so not very isolated. And I just thought it was a bit silly, so 1 star. I don't have much more to say because I've been filming for 25 minutes already. Next I had a reread that I did enjoy, and I picked this up on audio even though I have the physical book, and that is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. So I think I gave this 5 stars the first time round, and I did knock it down to a 4.5 this time. I read it back in October of 2019 originally. I did get the sequel, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, and I just didn't. I wanted to read it, so I reread this book in December, and sadly I'm now going to be unhauling the series. I wasn't a massive fan of the second book, which you won't see until my January wrap up, but I wasn't a massive fan. I've already listened to this twice and have never reached for the physical book, so I can listen again if I really want. But this follows Monty and Percy, who are going on a grand tour of Europe to kind of discover themselves as 17-year-old boys back in the 1800s. They get into a lot of mischief. There are pirates involved, there are highwaymen involved, and then some very important conversations about mental and physical health and sexuality that I really enjoyed in this book. And yeah, I do like it, but I'm not going to read it again. Even though it's getting a 4.5 star, I'm kind of done with it now. I've read it twice. So yeah, but I would recommend this book. I do think it's a great book. My camera is now flashing at me, so let's see if we can finish this off. I then read a book I've already put away on my shelf, and that is Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. This was a Christmas gift from Paige from Pages with Paige, so thank you again, Paige, for sending this my way. Okay, so we have definitely moved. It seems I couldn't beat my camera battery to dying, so I apologise that we've moved, but I will quickly finish this video up. As I was saying, I read Window Shopping. I gave it 3.5 stars. I did really enjoy this book. I thought it was a fun, easygoing time. It wasn't a lot of stress to read. It was, as I said, easy. We're following Stella, who has actually just got out of prison, and she doesn't think that this shop, Vivint, I don't even know how you say it, I've embarrassed myself enough times, she doesn't think they're going to hire her because of her criminal record, but she has been encouraged by somebody outside the store to apply to be their new window dresser because she thinks their Christmas window display is awful. So she goes ahead and applies for the job, and you guessed it, the guy outside is the manager, so he gives her a chance and romance ensues. It was fun, it was easy, I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I read it, so thank you, Paige, and I will be holding on to it for maybe a reread next year. And the final book I hated with a passion, and that is 13 by Steve Kavanagh. And this sounded so interesting because it said the serial killer isn't on trial, he's on the jury. That was the tagline. And yeah, it's about a serial killer, and we know from the start that he is trying to get onto the jury for a murder case that is linked to him, but somebody else is taking the fall. So he wants to be on the jury so that he can ensure that they get a guilty verdict, and that he remains safe. I guessed the twist at the start of this book, I really did, and I just was not interested at all. It was told in such a boring way. It was courtroom politics in tiny print, and I just didn't care. So 1 star, and I unhauled his other book I had, 50/50, which people seem more bothered about because apparently that was going to be good. But I'm sorry, I did not like Steve Kavanagh's writing. This book bored me to tears, and I'm so glad it's out of my life. But there we go. After using all my memory card memory, my battery dying, and finally getting through these 19 books, that is everything I read in December. So let me know what was what I know we're too far after December now, but what did you read in December that you really loved or really hated? I would be intrigued to know. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.